Hello and welcome to this week's Weekly Wind-Up. My name's David Ridgway. We've got two different topics for this week's show. The first is the big screen weekend, or indeed the first of hopefully a series of big screen weekends. And the second is taxi drivers not letting guide dogs into their taxis. Remember, the Weekly Wind-Up can be contacted by email at info@kirkleeslocaltv.com or on Twitter at the Weekly Wind-Up, and you can even find us on Facebook. My two guests today are Nadio Granata, an old friend if I might be bold enough to say, Nadio, from Stafflex, and secondly David Quarmby, a new friend who I've met for the first time today, who is from Visual Impairment Network, and of course he's brought along with him his dog Mick, who's been very quiet and well behaved. Stafflex is in partnership with the Food Festival Limited, and they have already produced the first big screen weekend, although I don't think it was actually. Was the first one a joint venture between the two of you, Nadia?
It is a joint venture. We don't sponsor the big screen weekend. We actually own the rights to it. So it's a little bit of a Red Bull type model whereby we own the rights to it with Food Festivals Limited. Yeah. Excellent.
Jolly good. So let's have a look at the event in June.
From what I've seen of it so far, it's really great. The weather is relatively nice, all the kids and family are out, the food is great. It's a great use of this space.
It's been really good. I mean, with the weather holding up and a lot of activities going on around, people milling around, looking like they're chilling out, taking it easy. Kids look to be having a wonderful time as well. Yeah, I think it's a really nice event, nice place to have it as well.
It looks good and I think it's a good idea, yes.
I think it's a really good event, yes. I think we need more things like this in Huddersfield, especially for the children.
I think it's been great for the city. It's been very popular. The weather's been kind to us. Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, definitely. Just look around you. It's got everything that Huddersfield needs. It's got a big screen, movies, family-friendly movies, food, drink, something for everybody. So yeah, definitely I do.
Yeah, it's been really good. Leon's enjoyed it. I think it's been quite good for Huddersfield and for all families to come here, yeah?
Yeah, I think it's great. With it being a focal point of the community, quite a lot of people are obviously coming in and out of Huddersfield during the day, and there's quite a lot to do and see here. And with it being a free film event, I think that's fantastic.
It certainly is, yes. I think for families to come out and enjoy themselves, obviously, with all the films that everybody's that are being put on, free for everybody to come along. Obviously, lots of other stalls, food, drinks, etc. for the kids, ice creams, etc. We don't do enough of it, I don't think, in Huddersfield as well. So it's nice event, and we should do more of it.
It has. It's been a wonderful family-oriented event. As you can see, there's loads of children. They're all dressed up for Frozen, and they're all really excited. So yes, well done, Kirklees.
Well, it seems like the people of Huddersfield enjoyed that, and indeed, to decry what everybody says about weather in Huddersfield, it was sunny, it was bright, and everybody having a great time. We're going to have another big screen weekend coming up on the weekend of the 21st to the 23rd of August. So what's in store this time round? Nadio, before we talk about that next event, can you tell me who is Food Festival Limited? Is it a new company formed from the Huddersfield Partnership?
Crikey. It is owned by Kathy Berger, who was involved with the Huddersfield Town Centre Partnership. Yep. And I think with recent cuts and everything else, Kathy decided to set up on her own. Excellent. And as far as I know, she does food festivals in various towns across West Yorkshire.
Thanks so much for that. So interesting. So how did it come about that Stafflex sponsored the big screen weekend?
Well, I'm going to correct you on sponsor. As a previous lecturer in sponsorship at University of Huddersfield, I'm quite touchy about that. We don't sponsor it, we own it. And what happened was, David, Stafflex is celebrating 15 years in business this year as a recruitment agency. Brilliant. And we put out on social media a call for some good ideas that we could support in order to raise awareness of the brand and to put something back into the community. One such idea that came to us was a giant slide. Somebody proposed that we put a giant slide through the town centre. We did the feasibility study into that. We weren't madly keen on it. That was a one-day, one-hit wonder, and it's sort of, bad weather and that was gone.
Sure.
And then Kathy came to us with an idea of putting a giant cinema screen in the square. We jointly worked out a business plan around that, and the business model is based on us as a private company funding this. We put a lot of money into this to acquire it. We give Kathy's company the confidence that this will happen, so it's not waiting for grants or other budgets. So we put the money in, and then Kathy's business sells the advertising space on the cinema screen, local businesses mainly, and we recoup some of our costs. We'd like to recoup all of our costs, and any profit that we would recoup from that or make from that would go ring fence for future events. So that's a business model.
Okay, thanks, Nadia. Now you say that you are, the idea for this was all spawned out of your 15th anniversary. Congratulations to Stafflex for 15 good, solid years in this town. And you've told us how you're promoting the event, which is great. Are you going to do anything differently in your next event in August that you did in June?
Yes, when we did the June event, we were cautious. We wanted to make sure that we did it well and we did it professionally, and health and safety and all those elements were very well covered. What we found from the June event was that the calendar, during the day, the programme needed a couple more elements to it. So we've added 2 more feature films to it, and we've also added some live music at 5 o'clock each evening. And we've also, in the Stafflex hospitality tent, we've added a lot of games for kids. So we're going to be a creche for 3 days, actually.
Right, understand. Now, of course, we've got David Quarmby here. And David, I must ask, is this the sort of event that you and Mick would be able to attend?
I'm sure it might be. The crowds might be a little bit overwhelming, but for me to really enjoy something like that, I'd need to have audio description. And of course, not everybody wants audio description. That's something that you watch in your own home. So, full participation wouldn't be there for me, unfortunately.
Nadia, are you taking into consideration the requirements that some of our impaired members of the community have to take into consideration for themselves?
Yeah, I mean, we pride on ourselves at Stafflex as being an organisation that does accommodate all. I think the festival itself, the big screen weekend, we have a lot of children down in wheelchairs. It's flat, it's wheelchair accessibility, and also if David's organisation would like to be in touch with us, would facilitate any extra help there.
So can you tell me about some of the films that you're going to be showing?
Yes, well, they start at 11 a.m. and run through to 7 p.m. The morning ones are across 3 days, so the Friday, Saturday and Sunday. So we mix them up, but Shrek, Frozen, Sing Along, Lion King, E.T. And then in the evening, the big ones are Grease and Dirty Dancing.
So no big red carpet with stars coming for the first time ever?
Well, we've actually got some cutouts of stars, actually, so you can have a selfie with a few stars if you like, but not quite genuine. But we do invite any stars of Huddersfield, if Patrick Stewart is around or anybody else of that ilk, then they're very welcome to come and join us.
Well, of course, he's just retired as Vice Chancellor of the University, so I suppose he's got time in his hands, so who knows?
If he's there, we'll make you welcome.
That's not going to be quite so true. Now, you did say that you thought these ideas up because of your 15th anniversary. Are you, how should I put this? If this process that you're going through this year is successful, are you likely to repeat it next year?
We are. We're very fortunate insofar as Brian Staley, who owns Stafflex, is very community orientated. So we don't have to make a profit, and we've actually put aside quite a significant budget for this. And if things go well this time round again, so the August one, if they're as good as it was in June, then I'm pretty sure we will repeat this again next year. We would like to do it over 3 weekends, June, July and August. We need to work out how that fits with the Food and Drink Festival, because we want to be seen to be complementing it and not rivaling it. But yes, we may well use it in other towns as Stafflex look looks to grow, and we use it as our market entry strategy into new towns in West Yorkshire.
Brilliant idea. So could we see perhaps a new company being spawned, Stafflex Big Screen Events Limited?
Well,
who knows?
Maybe,
Who knows?
yes.
Chairman and Chief Executive Officer Nadia Granata. Right, thank you very much indeed for both of those, for both of you for your comments. We're now going to go on to a news item, the Huddersfield Food and Drink Festival. And this is hot news, literally from the centre of Huddersfield, as the annual food festival offers a cornucopia of dishes and drinks from all over the world and all over the weekend. There are food and drinks from every corner of the world, real ale from Huddersfield, all the way to Vietnam on offer, Mexican, Chinese, African, Scandinavian, German, and not least, English dishes cooked right before your eyes. Is the food festival designed, is it really designed to promote local food businesses or to bring this cornucopia of produce from around the world? Now then, Nadia, tell me about it, because I know you've got a long history with this organisation.
I do have a long. I was one of the. I used to own a pizza takeaway business, and in Huddersfield we had one in Paddock, one in Mill Green, and we were the first exhibitors, if you like, at the Food and Drink Festival 15 years ago.
Was it just you and a stand?
There were three of us. There were three of us, and it rained, and it cost us a lot of money, and it was a washout. It was the second year the sun came out, that made it busy, and by the third year it started to get sponsorship and it started to grow. And so, but no, I think you'll find that this current year is much more diverse than it used to be. I don't think it is currently focused on local food producers. I think it's much more of a bigger business than that. Some people would criticise it for going further afield and local, but they have to charge higher fees, and you don't get all those fees paid by local businesses.
There's a balance, isn't there? There's a balance between the profits being kept for the benefit of people locally and part of the local economy, or the profits or the companies bringing in new ideas, new tastes, new foods, if you like, to test the palate, if you like, of local people and widen their experiences. And I guess that balance and that differential, it'll never be bridged.
No, I think you have to offer variety, but Huddersfield's a festival town these days. We've been doing the food and drink festival's been doing 15 years, and I think the level of expectation has grown and grown, as has things like the universities, the size of the university, and the influence from outside of Huddersfield. So it's recognised, and it resembles the growing face of the town, really.
Well, it was a big celebration, drawing crowds from near and far, and it's a pity we can only bring you pictures and not the multitude of different aromas which fill the town centre. Remember, the weekly wind-up can be contacted by email at info@kirkleeslocaltv.com and on Twitter @the Weekly Wind-up, and we are also available on Facebook.
However large or small your business, attracting new customers requires dedication and a lot of patience. Just like fishing, but you also need the right gear. Rods, reels, lines, hooks,
sinkers, lures, tackle box, tackle bag, net, bait, gas gloves, clothes, pocket knife, ropes.
Or you could simply advertise with KLTV. Online, grow your business and your clientele. KLTV, your vision made reality. Should have gone to KLTV.
And welcome back to this week's show with me, David Ridgway. With me this week I've got Nadia Granata, who's representing Stafflex, and David Quarmby from Visual Impairment Network. But before we start to discuss the refusal of some taxi drivers to carry passengers with guide dogs and how this impacts on the visually impaired community of Huddersfield, it's time for some more local news from Huddersfield. And the news item is about organ donation. Recently, there has been a plea for more people to register as organ donors as the number of donors in West Yorkshire has fallen. In July, it was reported that in the last 5 years, 111 Yorkshire residents have died whilst waiting for a transplant. There are currently more than 350 people in the county waiting for a transplant, and just 9 donors found out of more than 250 deaths across Huddersfield Royal Infirmary and Calderdale Royal Hospital. Yorkshire has the lowest number of donations in the UK, with just 86 donors in total in the last year. A spokesperson has said, "We need everyone to talk about organ donation with their families and agree to donate even if, or whenever they are asked." So, we can't hope to save more lives unless there is a revolution in attitude here in Yorkshire towards organ donation. To join the NHS Organ Donor Register, visit www.organdonation.nhs.uk or phone NHS Organ Donor Register 0300 123 2323. This information can also be found online at the Weekly Wind-Up. So, it has recently been in the news that some taxi drivers are refusing to carry passengers with guide dogs. When changes to the Disability Discrimination Act came into force, hackney carriage and private hire vehicles, drivers of vehicles, were banned for refusing to carry visually impaired people simply because they are accompanied by their guide dog. How do the people of Huddersfield feel about this?
Well, I think it's appalling because often it's the only way people can get to where they have to go efficiently in the way that anybody else who uses taxis do.
Well, I don't think it's on really. Everyone should be able to get a taxi as and when.
Yeah, I think that's disgusting really, because partially sighted people, just the same as anybody, need them services. So I think something that needs reconsidering by taxi drivers that think that way.
It doesn't sound right to me. It doesn't actually sound like it would be legal, discriminatory really. So I can't see how that's something that could happen.
Well, you see, these people disabled and they need help, and this is the taxi driver should see to help them.
So David, have you ever been refused a journey in a taxi because you've got Mick with you?
Yes, on many occasions unfortunately. It's become almost a regular occurrence and causes quite a lot of stress within the family, having to ring for a taxi and then not knowing whether the taxi driver will take us or not. It's particularly late at night when you're travelling home, when you've been to a family outing or something like that, and it is very, very awkward, and of course it's against the law. We did recently with the police and with Huddersfield Licensing a mystery shopping event, and 50% of the taxi drivers in that refused to take me and the guide dog. Yes.
Was any action taken against those taxi drivers?
There are 3 drivers going to be disciplined, subject to disciplinary action because of that, yes.
And this is current now?
And this is current now, yes.
So, just to put it into perspective, does this happen to you once a month, once a week?
No, I don't use
average?
taxis as often as that. If I can travel by public transport these days, it's less hassle to travel by public transport.
Right.
It's normally perhaps once a month, something like that, where you've got a family outing, we're out up at Linley, coming home, or something like that.
So you get caught up anyway, as the travelling public does on public transport, with the bus services closing down at inappropriate times of an evening.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And so 50% on that mystery shopper, 50% of taxi drivers refuse to take a guide dog.
Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't expect that, because that was during the day, not late at night.
You must have expected something, but what sort of a figure would you have expected?
Well, really, by law, all taxi drivers should take guide dogs or assistance dogs. It's a breach of the law. The only exemption is if somebody has a medical exemption certificate, and that should be displayed on the front of the taxi.
Yes, quite
and
so.
only one taxi driver in Kirklees has got a medical exemption not to take an assistance dog.
Okay. Nadia, what do you think about that stat? 50%, that's high.
Shocking. Absolutely shocking, and I, as a taxpayer in this town, I hope something happens about this because I'm not happy with it.
So, what do you think we can do to tackle this sort of discrimination, David?
I think really public awareness, and taxi drivers should be aware of the law and shouldn't be providing a public service if they're not prepared to take assistance dogs in their taxis.
Okay. Do you think their badges should be rescinded?
If they are not willing to take guide dogs, then they shouldn't be in the job, should they?
Okay.
It's a public service.
I guess I tend to agree with that. What can be done, do you think, to get taxi drivers to carry you as well as your guide dogs without refusal? I mean, do you think the training that taxi drivers have to go through in order to get their badge should incorporate this into their process?
Well, as far as I'm aware, in Huddersfield that does take place, in Kirklees that does take place. Not all licensed authorities take them through the training, but they should be aware of the law, and it is a breach of the law not to take assistance dogs.
I'm sorry to interrupt you there, David, but when you say not all licensing authorities do this degree of training, Kirklees has got a very good record in its training, but can you give any examples of other local councils where the training is not so good?
Well, I shouldn't really mention them.
I don't mind.
But there are quite a number of Rossendale licensed taxi drivers operating Kirklees. And
do they?
They do indeed. And they don't go through the same level of training. But even though taxi drivers go through the training in Kirklees, they don't seem to accept that, and 50% shows you straight away they're not fully aware of their obligations under the law.
Have you any idea as to why these drivers refuse?
They give excuses such as, the taxi's too small, or I'm allergic to dogs, or I'm frightened to dogs, etc. And as I say, if they've got a genuine allergy, that's okay, you can get a medical exemption. But if you're just using that as an excuse, you shouldn't be there being a taxi driver. If you're frightened of dogs, why should you be, assistance dogs? Look at him, he's lying down there as
yes,
meek and mild. And that's what he's like travelling.
Yeah.
It doesn't cause any problem to anyone.
When you phone up for a taxi after one of your late night efforts in Lindley, do you tell them that you've got a guide dog?
On some occasions we tell them, and other occasions we shouldn't have to tell them, really.
No, indeed.
And even when we've told them that we've a guide dog, the taxi that's turned up, the taxi driver has refused us, and it goes
well, that's not good.
A scene, and we've had to wait for another taxi driver. On one occasion, when we were stuck out at Honley, the taxi driver drove away, and we didn't get another taxi driver. We were dependent on somebody else giving us a lift home because we couldn't get a taxi back from Honley.
Right, okay. And there's a question which is floating in the back of my mind, which is, I take it that you've not really found a taxi firm that you could sort of rely on?
No, I wish I could say that.
Well, there's an opportunity for anybody watching this programme to say, right lads, we will be that firm.
Yeah.
That would be good, wouldn't it?
It would indeed. Yeah.
I wonder what the power of Kirklees local TV can be for that.
I'd like all taxis to be like that.
So, if you had a message for taxi companies, what would you say to them regarding this subject? Be that firm. Yeah?
Yeah.
Absolutely, okay. Right, thank you very much, David, for coming in and telling us that, because you certainly opened my eyes to this matter, and I do feel that it's, I think this story is going to actually run and run. And I could see by the look on your face, Nadia, that you were quite appalled by some of those stats, and I am too. Thank you so much, David, for letting us into all of that. So, one last thing, our final news item from Kirklees, equine assist therapy. The use of animals within therapy can be traced back for thousands of years. Their ability to read human emotion and their inherent honesty is perhaps why we look to them, that's to animals, so often in times of distress.
My name's Julia Hall. This year I celebrate 20 years of being a counsellor and psychotherapist based in Huddersfield. For the last 3 years I've been taking my psychotherapy clinic outdoors and using my team of horses. 2 years ago I became licensed to work as a mental health specialist, working with people who find the indoor clinic restricting and would like to try something different. The horses are non-judgmental, they don't hold grudges, and what you see is what you get, and that's the beauty of working with them. People sometimes project things onto them and feel like they can speak to them easier than a human, but also I may work with the person and the horse to try and help them to relax, because they are so intuitive. They are inquisitive as well, and they have a sensitivity that does just seem to pick up emotions, because that's what they do in their own herd. Some of the service users have just said that they would never have actually got this far. Some people have had indoor therapy, not with myself, but with other counsellors, and they're saying that the shift they've made in the 2 or 3 months that they've made with me, working with the horse, is really quite considerable. Decrease in anxiety, increasing confidence, self-esteem, quite a range of emotions. I work with people with eating disorders and self-esteem, and that's all really grown in the time that we've worked together. Very, very positive. What I'd like to do is more and more of the outdoor work. A lot of my indoor clients now will actually come and have sessions outdoors. And also I've gone into companies and organisations doing team building, and some of those people have also decided they want to come outdoors and work with the horses. So just exploring all the options and developing the practice so as many people have access to it, really.
I would like to thank both my guests today, as well as to all of you at home who are watching us. Nadia, great to see you again. Thanks for coming in.
Pleasure.
David, thank you so much it's really good of you to come in today.
Thank you.
Thanks. Remember, the weekly wind-up can be contacted by email at info@kirkleeslocaltv.com or on Twitter at the weekly wind-up. And as I said before, you can find us on Facebook. Thanks for watching. See you next week.